everybody, and welcome to the As You Are podcast. My name is Leslie Vandergans. I'm the founder of Enso Coaching and Consulting, and I'm here with two of our amazing coaches, Libby and Kathleen.
Libby was shimmying a little bit.
Oh,
hello.
There was a little
Libby was
shimmy.
shimmying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shlimmy.
Great.
Something like that. I don't
Great.
know. And we are here. Our special guest today is the amazing Lara Toner Haddock from Austin Playhouse.
Delighted to be here.
Director
Mhm.
of producing artistic director of Austin Playhouse.
Yes.
We're
Thank
so
you so
excited to
much
have
for
you.
having me.
Oh my gosh, this is
Yay,
going to be
we're
so much
thrilled.
fun. I mean, the amazing thing is that Austin Playhouse has been in Austin for quite some
Yeah.
time.
We are in our 26th season
My
right now.
26th season.
That is
It is
wild.
one of the few professional theaters in Austin. And
That has-
that has lasted and
Yeah.
is, continuing to contribute to this amazing city. And,
And it really, it was came out of the State Theater Company and Live Oak Theater before that.
yeah.
remember that.
So there's kind of this even longer continuum of these
Right.
artists and this company working together.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the, when Austin Playhouse came to be. What was the thinking behind the kind of genesis of that, of
Sure.
the company?
Austin Playhouse was founded in 2000. I can do that math.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
It is.
Even numbers.
It's very convenient. I appreciate it.
We like that.
And so it was, my father was actually the producing artistic director there. And along with about 50 of Austin's artists kind of came together when the State Theater merged with the Paramount. And they eventually, they still had a producing wing for a little bit after that, but they were kind of curtailing, and we sort of saw the writing on the wall that was going to be more of a presenting house than a producing organization. So Austin Playhouse came into being. We performed our first season at Concordia University. We were invited to
wow.
do that. And then did a little hopping around, did a Blues in the Night at a nightclub downtown, did Arcadia at Hyde Park Theater. And eventually landed at it's an old warehouse space, as every theater
this.
landed at, called Penn Field, which had been a World War I flight training facility.
Penfield was great.
I loved Penfield.
Yeah.
It had a wonderful vibe. It was really, really great. The only thing that wasn't great was when they wanted to increase rent to $16,000 a month,
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
goodness.
and then go up from there.
Then it wasn't so
What
good.
Then
was
it
it
wasn't
prior
so
to?
great.
Wait, what was it prior to? Just so we
We
know.
were doing about 8, so it was going to double.
Oh my
Lord.
And this is well over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
still so it got up to 12, and we were still kind of struggling, and then once it was going beyond that, it just was not
gotta
sustainable.
Oh my
go.
gosh.
And we've always had a kind of pretty large, loyal, dedicated subscriber base. And so we said, this theater should have a permanent home that's sustainable, that's going to serve Austin Playhouse and other artists in the community for decades to
Yeah.
come, instead of this. It's a very, very common situation of an arts organization comes in. There weren't that many businesses in Penfield when we moved into it.
Yeah.
The property value gets raised because the
Often.
arts attracts
Yep.
economic activity.
Yep.
Right.
And then they're priced out
Right.
of these venues. So our story is not by any means unique. We were in negotiations for a space at the Mueller redevelopment. This was in the economic crash of like 2008, 2009. And we couldn't get a bank loan. We couldn't get a bank loan for what we had been paying in rent. And that was just the situation that we were in at that time. We had a wonderful board member who was with Austin Community College and said, hey, we're going to be renovating Highland Mall. Would you like to anchor a space there while the community college drama department is getting their new space worked out at Highland? So we went into an old Foot Locker, and
Yeah, you
what we
did.
think was an old Western store next to it, because of the wagon wheels on the ceiling. We're pretty
Some
sure that's
wild,
what that was.
Yeah.
But
How do we incorporate this into the shows?
we never found the answer to that question. But we did have a really nice 143 seat theater that we
it was
renovated
great.
at Highland. Had good backstage space. And yes, the Western store allowed us to have offices on site as well.
Beautiful.
So
And,
nice.
and we were there for several seasons. And then through the renovation of Highland from a mall, it was very nice at Tech when we could go up to the food court.
Right.
Um,
right.
My jaw dropped. I was like, right, I didn't clock that.
Yeah.
It was so good. I had one night where there was some clothing emergency, something, and it was ripped. And I went to the Express across the
Yeah.
the way, and so it was there were some benefits to being in the
Yeah.
mall. I did not mind it really. And then the renovation was tough, and then I think it was tough for ACC to kind of see how a professional theater with our operating schedule would fit in with their schedule. And then they completed the new drama department's theater, and then COVID hit. And so the whole building shut down, and we couldn't access our space. We weren't quite sure what to do. And in the meantime, in 2019, we had received a really, really generous gift that allowed us to purchase land to build that permanent home. So we have, since 2019, we've owned land it's on the 183 frontage road near Cameron. So almost 3 acres there. And we set about getting that permitted, working with our amazing architects at Forgecraft Architecture, and had that all permitted and shovel ready and good to go. And we were in the process. We had a bank loan, standing by. And that was in like the first week of March 2020.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened then?
It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Things get blurry
Yeah.
for a bit. But so the whole, performing arts industry got shut down.
Yeah.
Our building, we couldn't even access our theater space
Yeah.
for a while
Oh my gosh.
because the school rightly was just, everything.
Not letting anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was very tough and kind of put the whole project on hold because we weren't sure where
Sure.
the world was going, much less performing arts in
Right.
Austin.
Right.
So eventually we came out of that. We are now, we're invited by University Baptist Church, who is a fantastic, very progressive church in Austin, to put a theater into their, it was built as a student union in the 1940s. And it had an old stage in there. So there's still some original woodwork and
Yeah.
fly system that we don't use because that's terrifying.
Oh my God.
It's not
I
really
can't
a
even-
fly
yeah.
system, but just, the curtains. Y'all have been
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know the space. Did you ever pick up the phone backstage?
No.
It's
Let's
there.
go pick it up.
Oh my gosh.
There's a live line
There is.
from this phone.
Maddie
That's-
picked it up during one of the, she
Did
was
she?
backstage. Yeah.
Oh.
And it just, it's a
Yeah.
live phone.
It's my favorite
Yeah.
thing. in
Do you
there.
call people?
No, you can't. It doesn't actually go anywhere.
But you do get
That's
the dial
amazing.
tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I
So-
love it.
Field trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have been in this interim space for a few seasons. We moved in, I think it was July 22.
Okay.
And it's been wonderful. We have
Yeah.
fantastic landlords, but the space has a lot of big limitations. And so we are looking to, still the dream is to have a space that was built to be a modern theater and
Yeah.
built with the flexibility to serve a lot of different performing arts groups in the community. And we keep kind of acquiring bits and pieces for that. We have Marley flooring that was donated last year from a huge event
Amazing.
that happened. So it's just
Yeah.
all rolled up in storage right now. And we
Just
have
waiting to.
when the Mexicarte Museum's being renovated, and so they got rid of all of their stuff. So we won their riser system at auction.
Oh my
And
gosh.
So we have.
Also that.
I love this.
I just get like, what can we
Let's
get?
just get it
What can we
Yeah.
get?
This is like hoarding. And
Mhm.
then,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
For whenever.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
For whenever
and,
it's ready.
And so whatever
I love
equipment
it.
can get. So we have this these plans, this whole full theater designed, and it's a 2-venue performance facility, 17,000 square foot. To be on that site. And the idea is that the main stage would be about a 220-seat main stage, which is very rare in
Yeah.
Austin, those kind of mid-sized venues. And then a 99-seat black box that would be
Beautiful.
primarily rented out. Both spaces would be rented. But Austin Playhouse would do its main stage season in the larger space,
Yeah.
and that black box would be primarily a rental space, and then support facilities, so a rehearsal hall. We've done some rethinking since the pandemic. So a recording/podcast studio is now in there.
Yeah.
Said, we could probably carve out this space, and that would be a really useful thing to how we operate in 2025 versus when it was originally designed.
Yeah.
So
Love that.
I think it's interesting because as someone who, I've been in Austin since 2004, but I've seen shows in multiple locations as you guys have, from Penfield to ACC to the tent.
The tent.
But I think that there's something to be said for the fact that, like, Austin Playhouse, even though it has been in multiple different locations, has always had like the same type of feel and quality to the work. And so I think that that's something just really interesting to me, kind of what has gone on as you guys have traveled from venue to venue, which has its own, challenges and things along that. Like, how do you keep that feel of consistency? How do you keep that the same within kind of the shows and planning what your seasons are going to be, so your audience members, because you guys also have very loyal audience members as well.
We do. Thank you. You prioritize the people is what it comes down to for me. We have an incredible acting company. And this is not a resident company. We don't have people on salary, although I will say that the vast majority of our staff are also members of our acting company.
Yeah.
So in very real ways, we do.
Sure.
But it's not like the Alley or Dallas Theater Center.
Right.
They have a very small resident company. But if you look at, say, Steppenwolf, they have you can scroll through pages and pages of just artists that have helped build that theater, have made a significant impact, and Steppenwolf has made a commitment to them.
Right.
And that's what we have. So it changes, it evolves. It's folks who've done at least 3 productions with us. And we completed a strategic plan a couple years ago in the pandemic, so probably more than a couple years ago now. But one of my favorite goals from that was to be a career-long home for Austin artists. So folks that sometimes start with us as interns or, fresh out of college, 20, 30 years later, we still want to be supporting their professional artistic life in this community. And we're also pretty committed to it being local artists.
Great.
So while occasionally there are folks that we've probably worked with before that will say, wait,
Come back.
we need you to come back for this. For this.
Yeah.
By and large, these are people who have made their home in the Austin or surrounding areas, because of course now we're getting even more spread out.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing that I do as an artistic director is oversee that play selection process.
Yeah.
We are very much in the traditional regional theater mold, where we do usually one musical a year, some comedies. I'm big on new works and developing that. We've had several world premieres from local playwrights. This production we're opening soon is a Stephen Dietz play, and he was the chair of, I think, I don't know if he's the chair of the drama department. He was a directing professor at UT for many years. So I think that it is that combination of picking the good plays that people want to see. But really prioritizing the people that you work with. Because without them, we don't have a theater. And the audience members, I know it gets batted around, but they feel like family. They feel they are at least a part of this community. And it's a very strong community that gets built there.
Yeah.
Love that. So you just talked about how your dad had kind of founded Austin Playhouse, and then you have now taken over as producing artistic director. What has that evolution process look like, and how do you kind of take on a leadership role to say, Dad did it this way, I'm thinking about it this way, I'm gonna keep some of these things, I'm gonna evolve. Like, what does that process look like for you?
Tricky and difficult.
Yeah.
Not easy. Not easy, Leslie.
That's why we asked the question.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the biggest difficulties for me was prior to being in the full leadership position. I had the title of artistic director for years, and then it was co-producing artistic director and producing artistic director. But for many years, I was able to really micromanage myself, and I was kind of in charge of a lot of all of the different aspects. And so for me, delegating is always what I struggle with the most. We brought on someone to staff pretty recently, and I said, look, currently I know more about this subject area than anybody else. And within 6 months, I would really love for that not to be the case. It's like, that's the goal, is for you to be the expert here and not me, because we have to grow as an organization. So we have to start putting in these departments and empowering people to be the leaders in those, so that I'm in more of a strategic oversight, helping them succeed role, but not
in the weeds,
in
like
the
doing the
weeds.
thing.
And that's the toughest thing for me, because and I'm sure y'all have met other people who are having struggle with that transition.
I'm just kidding. No, it's true. I mean, it's really true.
I always ask my clients, like, if you were abducted by an alien tomorrow, like, what are the first pieces of your job that would fall through the cracks? Or, like, what are the things that would come around that people would be like, oh, but that was I don't do that. And I think it's eye-opening, especially, like, in a business, if it's a smaller business where you have lots of people that are they've just been doing the thing and they don't even know.
Yeah. That's that growth piece that becomes really hard, right?
And I imagine, too, as you've had to evolve, part of that includes putting on more hats.
Yeah.
Right?
Different hats.
And different hats, exactly. So, like, some of it was born out of necessity. And so now, how do you reprioritize? How do you put the trust in it?
And I believe I'm collaboration first, kind of always. And sometimes maybe to a detriment. People will just be like, Lara, just tell me what you need. I'm like, let's all brainstorm.
Let's talk about it.
I want to hear from everyone. But as far as the differences, also, I think my dad, came up in that what I say goes from the top down kind of system, and that is not how I love to operate. So one of the first things I did was to bring on 2 associate artistic directors. So we have Sarah Fleming Walker and Ben Wolf, because I really feel that the best decisions come when everyone is heard and we get the most voices at the table, and a diversity of voices at the table. So that is one of the big ways that I'm different, but I feel that's how we approach productions now, probably more than we did, and how we approach just at day-to-day administration.
Yeah. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things that seems like it's newer maybe is some of the smaller productions that you guys have been doing kind of in that black box space. And those have been getting a lot of, positive recognition and all of that. How has that been something that's always been a part of the Austin Playhouse vision, or is this a newer thing that you guys are introducing in?
At Penn Field, we had a second stage.
Oh, yeah.
We had the Larry L. King Theater.
Yeah.
And we were able to do these fantastic plays. We did Dug Up by Cindy Williams, which won the David Mark Cohen New Play Award. Age of Arousal, which is delightful Victorian feminist
That was
fantasy.
one of my favorite plays I've ever seen in Austin.
And that was the theater that I kind of ran back when we were at Penn Field. So... And then at Highland, we just didn't have the space for it. So we would do one play a season that was kind of an off-season production. We did Venus and Fur. We did anyway. We had some other smaller productions that we would just incorporate into our season, but we were also sharing the space with ACC, so we just didn't have a lot of extra time at all for that. So here with this studio space at our West Campus location, we have this little 50-seat studio, and we just ran a beautiful production called The Heart Sellers, which is a fantastic, touching, intimate play, perfect to see in that setting. And I love those stories. I love those stories where you kind of, it's just this side of voyeurism where you're just right there in the room with them. And I love our bigger productions too. I'm kind of I'm pretty eclectic in my theater taste as well. So we're never going to just do one thing. But the working with local playwrights, that's something that goes back when we were at the State Theater Company prior to Austin Playhouse, had the Harvest Festival of New American Plays, and so there were a lot of things that I think, due to economic restrictions, got curtailed. And so bringing back the New Play Festival bolstering our theater for youth and education programming have been big goals of mine. So that and we should have these things right now, but also in preparation for the growth of this theater.
Yeah. So how are you, I mean, just, again, because we're dorks about visioning and planning and all of those types of things. So how are you thinking about, because obviously once this new theater gets built, obviously that's a big lift and a big responsibility. And so how are you thinking about the different revenue streams and or different things that you guys want to continue to engage in so that you can continue to grow Austin Playhouse?
Well, it's a big buzzword, of course, the diversification of revenue streams.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and which is necessary. And I think a lot of the lessons from COVID are things, that was one of the big ones because your live production revenue just went away.
It's scary.
And so we did a lot of we actually didn't stop producing, we just pivoted to virtual, and we did that I think pretty successfully. And that's one of the things that I wish we were still able to incorporate as much of the streaming and virtual theater, but then we run into a bandwidth issue. And so that balance has been hard. And you have all the traditional revenue sources for a nonprofit professional theater, which includes the ticket sales and grants, and those are incredibly unstable right now. We do not have time in our week to talk about the instability of the grant system right now. There's corporate funding in Austin, particularly, has always been incredibly tough. There's some communities that have a larger corporate funding infrastructure. Austin is not one of them. Austin Playhouse is incredibly fortunate to have a pretty strong individual contributor.
Great.
And that comes from that audience that has carried with us. And that also, though, doesn't happen by magic. There's work that goes into that and focus that has to be, attention must be paid for all of these things. We don't make much from merchandise. There are some theater companies, but the education wing can get bigger. So I don't know if that's fully answering, but it is always, it's like, what else could we be doing that won't kill us to take on that could, and how can we, and also how can we not sit here and just see dollar signs placed over everything? Because the art has to be the focus at the end of the day also.
Right.
So I don't know. That was a little rambly,
that's
Leslie,
great.
but
That's great.
But there's
the truth. I mean, the truth is it's just hard to it's hard to run a business in general, but then just to be in a space where again, like the necessity of art is subjective, right? And it depends on the people that are engaging, and so it's a challenging thing to be constantly thinking about what else can we do, or how do we make sure that this thing sustains and continues to grow. It's a hard beast.
And we're in just to get a little granular there. The Austin City Funding has did a 2-year pilot program where Austin Playhouse saw a reduction in its award allocation by more than half. We saw a 70% reduction, and we were among the lucky ones because there were many groups that theirs just went away.
We talked to one other theater company that lost everything.
It is now being revamped again, but there's been a big gap. So before it was on the city's fiscal year, which is October through the end of September, and now this next grant funding cycle is starting in January. So we're in this kind of typically whatever it is that we would receive would have come in now, and now we're looking at maybe March. And so we're in this kind of, and it's not like we're not in the widget making business where, we make these widgets and people buy the widgets and then we can kind of like plan our widget. So it's constantly, and in the middle of that, trying to launch a public capital campaign as well is the easiest, highly recommended.
That sounds fun.
Super fun.
Great.
So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's. I want to ask you more about the capital campaign, and there's just a question there of, you just said, like, don't want to put dollar signs on everything. You're still running a business. Art has to stay at the center. How do you, just as the leader of all of this, balance the thinking around leading this organization?
Right. Well, and that doesn't even get into like the work-life balance.
Yeah.
That is not
Also, you're a mom.
She's a mom.
Young girls.
So I have two daughters.
Yeah.
So I don't. It does often feel like you're playing whack-a-mole.
Right.
You know, I mean, like very, very often. There's usually something that is, here's the big priority for this day or this week, and and that's just the undeniable priority. We are opening a show on Friday. Some things have to happen. For that to open.
Sure.
And then I personally, I try to get anything that other people can take and run with off my plate first thing in the day.
Awesome.
So that's been kind of the only thing, you know, if I can do a thing that then 20 people can take and do something with, that's the first thing I want to do.
Yeah.
To just multiply the impact of anything that I'm working on. So if it's something that's just kind of this would be nice to do for me, that's usually the last thing that I will tackle. And it is, it's bringing more people in and empowering them is the only way those things happen. Because again, if it all has to funnel through me, it will stop. It won't.
Yeah.
It
There's
won't
a
happen.
lid or a ceiling, right?
You know.
Yeah.
So there are certainly things that I'm like, well, that's not exactly the way I would have dotted that I or crossed that T.
Yeah.
But is it an I and a T?
Yep. Get the job done. Let's
go with
Yeah.
it. And then I work with some incredible people, and I want them to grow. In you know, as I mentioned, a lot of them are artists, and some of them, for some of them, this is their first kind of administrative job. And so, so there's more of that kind of how do we office than there might be in someone who came through a kind of business school path to this. So I don't know. That's kind of a lot of the balancing we do.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I mean, it's not any different than any other business or any other organization, right? It's just like really kind of prioritizing how do I continue to lean on the people around me and develop them and help them grow, and then how do I leverage the things that are not going to be. We like to say like revenue generating, right? But like I think in the same world that is, linchpin oriented to you specifically versus like what are the things that we can leverage off that other people can do. Yeah.
I also just love the, having people that are members of the company and performers like working, behind the scenes and doing like some of the ads because they're bought in and they know like, they have the Austin Playhouse's best interest at heart. And like, they're getting to learn maybe a new skill. Like you said, like they haven't had maybe super office-y jobs and kind of learning that. But I mean, I think that's just something that's super important is the business side that a lot of people don't see the business.
Right.
They just see, oh, that was a great play. Yay. And then I bet that was great. Cool. And it went up super easy. There was no drama at all.
Well, and that's always something that I struggle with a little bit because this is what I think about 24/7.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself that not everyone lives in that headspace of only thinking about how theater happens and what's impacting the nonprofit arts and how where do we fit into the national scene. And so where is that and so I also have a responsibility to educate our audiences and our board and our artists. And I won't call her out, but I had one of the only members of our team who's not involved in this show that we're working on right now. We're heading into tech, and she made a comment. Tech is hard, y'all. If you've not, for anybody watching, so this is where all of the lighting and sound, all of the technical elements come into a show. And it's a lot, and it's long, and it's tedious, and you just kind of stand there while people change lights on you for a year. And she made some comment, and I just looked at her. I was like, "What do you think we do?" And she should absolutely, So I realized that even within people that I assume kind of absolutely know what's going on here, they don't.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a place where I feel I could do a better job because that is one of those things that I mentioned that kind of comes last. But like, let me write a blog post taking you through the tech process.
Right.
Or,
Yeah. Still on the to-do list.
Yeah. That's not where we prioritize our time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so let's. I mean, it's true. Educate as a leader. Education.
Yeah.
Is always, it's always lingering, right? Because I joke about this all the time is like sometimes as leaders, like we bring somebody on and then we're like, why aren't you get it?
Doing the thing.
Why aren't you here? And then it's like, oh, because we have to lead. So that means like we have to bring people along on the journey. And sometimes it's easy to forget when you're just in the thick of it, right? In the work.
I feel like this is where prioritizing people gets to come in though too, because it's investing in their growth, and that takes education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, it does not serve me at all to get frustrated if someone doesn't know. It's like figure out where that gap is, what's happening. Because, again, I work with people who are incredible and want to do a fantastic job. So if something's falling through the cracks, it's not because they're like, oh, I don't care about Austin Playhouse.
Right.
It's never the case.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
So really that empowering, that communicating, that figuring out what is getting in their way, what is getting in my way of communicating, because certainly I am not a perfect leader. I do not,
get out of here.
Walk in with it's true, Kathleen. What?
Can't convince me.
But
So
well, so let's talk about this capital campaign.
All right.
This is a new beast.
It is. Although it feels like a beast that we have been trying to tame for quite some time. Because, as I mentioned, we first started on this journey of like, let's get a new home.
Yeah.
Over a decade ago.
Right.
Well over a decade ago. And so we have some people, the flip side of that loyal audience is that they know how long this journey has been. And they're like, show me the money at this point. It's like, show me the proof. Like, why is this not happening? And you can walk them through it. And they're absolutely very reasonable, why this hasn't happened. It is a big lift for any small, mid-sized arts organization to own their own space. If it was easy, everyone would have one.
Yeah.
It's not. The economics of it are so tough. However, it is, and we are not, I will say, there's some arts groups that take on a behemoth. They're like, let's build this $20 million facility, and it's bigger than they need. It's too costly to manage, and it sinks them. And I've seen that happen also. So what we're looking at is kind of take where we are and a little incremental growth, make it so that it can serve a lot of arts organizations and be affordable to them. And that means different things for different arts groups. And even with this kind of modest goal in mind, it was still out of our reach. Until in 2021, the Austin Cultural Trust came on the scene. The Austin City Council had approved some creative spaces bond that has some very, very strict restrictions. And if anybody is curious why some of our things haven't been rolling as quickly, it's because there's so much legal paperwork to get through. But we applied for this, and a cultural trust is typically this kind of public-private partnership where sometimes they manage real estate. Pittsburgh was the first city in the country to really invest in this. They took 14 blocks in Pittsburgh that were just really economically run down, pretty seedy, and it's been transformative. And this, there are dozens of arts groups that now perform there. It's not just a performing arts center; it's blocks of this huge cultural district. It generates over, I think it's $300 million in revenue every year for Pittsburgh, and that's. And that's the if I say nothing else, the arts are a catalyst for the economy of cities. Every dollar you invest in the arts generates, I think it's like $7. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Trust me. Yeah, you don't need to know.
You don't need to know.
It's just a lot.
But it's true, and you know that. You know that, like, if you're going to see a play, you may also be going out for drinks or going out to dinner.
100%.
Things.
It's an
Every
every
time. Yeah.
And they're and the job creation. So we are the recipient. We were approved by the city council for $4.5 million of this bond fund, which put our gap at $3 million, which is what I had always said, like that's within our reach. That's doable. So that's what we are working to raise right now. And whatever we're not able to raise by the time we're ready to break ground will be a loan. And we have several lending institutions this time that we're talking with. But it would be fantastic to just raise that.
Yeah.
Just raise
100%.
that. Because that building, there will be increased electricity charges. There'll be increased maintenance charges. We will still be needing to manage and run a business, have increased expenses for our productions, which will be on a larger stage in a bigger space.
Right.
So that's. But we're about to start making some announcements with this capital campaign. Some of the first naming opportunities are going to start rolling out. So I'm really, I know. So I'm really
So
excited.
you can have like chairs named after you, and
we're not doing chairs.
Okay.
Oh, what are we
Tell me
doing?
more.
Because people fight over chairs.
Oh, okay.
This has
we doing
been
bricks?
this is a lesson I have learned.
Wow.
It's a thing. So there will be plaques.
Okay.
There will be walls with names on them.
Hey,
But also there are everything from the from eco-friendly features in the space that you can kind of support that sustainability of the building, to traditional naming opportunities like the main stage theater, the second stage theater, box office. We have I will say our costume loft has been claimed for over a decade.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's been a
Wait, that's
thing.
fun.
So it's really there are a lot of ways to get involved in a lot of different.
Love it.
Sorry, even as you're saying all this, it is that like there's the investment from the community in Austin Playhouse in a really big way. And I know we've been saying that, but I don't know. It's incredible to see as a collaborative effort, right?
Yeah. Well, and how do I mean, kind of going into this, right, immediately my brain goes to like, we're going to need more audiences. So how are you thinking about how do you think about expanding your audience base to be an even bigger community than what you guys currently have?
Sure. And that's been an interesting trend since COVID. Our subscription base has shrunk since it, and it's smaller than it was at the height before the economic crash. That was the largest. We had 2,000 subscribers at that point, which was how we were able to kind of keep up with the rent it is now. And I will say that we're currently paying, I think it's $11,500 in rent per month for our space. So it is not a free space that when I say we're invited to these places, we are
Invited to
and
pay.
we're delighted to be there.
Yes.
We have fantastic landlords, but we are still, that is still a big piece of the economic puzzle we're covering. So we have been growing 20 to 30% in single ticket revenue every year since the pandemic that we've been in this space. Our subscription numbers are increasing modestly, but not at the rate of the single ticket buyers. And this has kind of been a big consumer shift, that folks are more willing, and we have more last minute ticket purchasers, which is so great for me.
It's awesome. We love when people just wait till the last minute.
I'm sorry, that is often me.
It's fine.
She's like, right.
You are delight.
I'm a loud audience member. I will laugh. I will applaud.
Get in there.
We are happy for all of our audience members whenever they choose to join us. Although I will say, then it's closing weekend and things start selling out.
100%.
And you're like, I am having to turn you away, and I'm very sad about it.
I would have loved you in the first weekend.
First Thursday.
That is
exactly. That's a trend here in Austin.
Oh, absolutely. That is. I mean, this is true for all theater companies.
I think we talk about it like at every show I've been a part of. And we always start
Come
pushing
the first weekend.
tickets, make people come the first weekend.
And that it's like only have comps the first weekend is one that I've seen a lot of theater companies do as well.
We split it. So we have a couple comps that are only good for first weekend, and then 2 anytime ones except closing.
Yes.
But so, and I think one of the big things is diversifying the groups using the facilities. So we're not just relying on Austin Playhouse audiences to fill this art center, but we're kind of getting that synergistic growth from having a lot of different types of groups. a lot of different performances, from dance to comedy to more cabaret type things to traditional theater, and many things I haven't thought of. There's a lot more live music opportunities there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it
It's
speaks
great.
to the demand of space, right?
Oh
that
my
it's
the
gosh.
demand is
it's
it's
huge.
half the struggle. I
Yeah.
mean, being like, we have this great idea, we want to do this thing. There's nowhere to
No
do
place,
it.
or it's like
or
cost
it's so
prohibitive.
expensive.
Well,
yeah.
and we're renting out our spaces
Yeah.
right now, both of
Yeah.
them. So we have groups coming in, and that second stage gets used a lot for workshops and classes, as well as some smaller performances. And our main stage, we have a burlesque troupe that's used it many times.
Oh,
They're
that's awesome.
awesome.
Fun in a church,
And so-
especially.
And so
We-
they're
we were at a show
y'all-
after them one time, and I was like, oh, there's
Yeah.
so many. Oh, there's
They
like
got their little
glitter.
glitter
Yeah.
everywhere.
Glitter everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing.
It was great.
But they're fantastic,
Yeah.
and we'll be back in January.
amazing.
So we had River City Pops in last year,
yeah.
and so
Fun.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, Lara, what is your, I had to correct myself. What is your vision when you think about, 5-10 years? I don't even know when. Well, I guess that's timeline for this
Yeah.
new theater. But then I have a question post. Like, what are you thinking about
for
from
timeline.
Yeah.
So we have been incredibly fortunate that we have been able to extend our building permits several times. As you may know, they don't give you a permit indefinitely.
Yeah,
Just
for
whenever
whenever
you get around to it, whenever
Whatever's
you
good
want
for
to
you.
Don't worry
put
about
out
it.
that building. City codes change, building codes,
Yeah.
land codes change. So we and there's a site permit, which is the one that if you are ever in a position of needing a site permit, it can take 18 months to 2 years to get. And the building permit is much faster. So, for example, we may change some things to the building. We would have to submit some permit exceptions, but that would not be a prohibitive length of time. But we are really trying to hold on to that site permit. We currently have it extended through April. So gosh, that would be lovely if we were
Wow.
able to start moving some dirt around
Yeah.
then.
Do I need to grab
That's
a shovel?
amazing.
I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
I think you'd look great in a hard
Yeah.
hat.
I agree.
Good. So that and we're working currently with our city council office. They're in communication with them because they're supportive of this project as well. Because there's not much culturally in this kind of northeast part of Austin right now.
Yeah.
But there are some things in the works. So there's another partnership that through this Austin Cultural Trust, which is administered by Rally Austin, a facility that will be anchored by the Rude Mex and Austin Bat Cave. And that's coming up near Highland Mall. And we're not that far away from it. So I'm hoping in the next 5 years or so we have
This hub.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd really love to sort of anchor a cultural hub in that more northeast section of Austin. So that April would be ideal. If it's by summertime, I'm still okay with that. We had this project as fully bid out, and it was a 10-month construction process at that time. We're doing so the cheapest building you can put up is a prefab steel building. Ours is designed to be a tilt wall concrete building because where they pour the concrete walls and then they tilt them up in place, and it's more soundproof, and we were right next to 183, and so it felt like some of that.
Yeah, smart.
So there's it's a little more substantial building, but it's still pretty economical. Like I said, we're not going for every bell and whistle on the planet, but a functional building built for this purpose is still head and shoulders ahead of what
a building built for this purpose.
Building built for
How
this
many of
purpose.
us have rigged like?
Yeah. My mouth is dry.
I don't know that any of the theaters that I've performed in were actually originally meant to be theaters. Like I feel like so many of them are
right?
Yeah, it's
Well,
Austin.
Well, and I guess that's that's the question is when you're thinking about 5 years from now, what do you want Austin Playhouse to be, and what do you want your leadership in all of this? Because you've talked a lot about engagement with arts council and the community and the city and all of those things. Like, what do you want your kind of staple to be leading in what the arts in Austin is going to look like?
Sure. I think it is ridiculous that Austin doesn't have more than one large professional theater
Echo.
for a city this size. If you look at Seattle or Chicago or Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, there are Dallas, Houston. Houston has they're it is absurd.
Yeah.
Austin's population can certainly support more than one large professional theater. And with that support, it provides more opportunities for Austin professional artists. And I think I'm a pretty, I know rising tides don't fix everything again, but I feel that if you say, this is the baseline. This is people are getting paid. We are supporting the ability for Austin artists to stay in our community and not go off to larger markets. And there's no reason that Austin can't be a larger market. And there's no reason that Austin Playhouse can't be cultivating new play development, commissioning new plays, a really significant voice on the American cultural theatrical scene. That we can take Austin artists and make them heard in a way that I don't think they always are.
I love that. I know. That's exciting.
Lara,
I'm so excited.
It's amazing.
That's what I want to do.
I love it.
I want us
well, it's
to,
necessary. I mean, the city is the live music capital of the world, so to speak.
Lots of air quotes.
And, lots of air quotes because it is sad, and you do see there are a lot of really talented performers, but they don't get to commit to art the way that they could potentially, and
we have a lady in our show that's about to be running, and she worked in Houston not that long ago. And so she worked with folks where acting was their job. They went from, and stage acting and some film acting, but that was their job. And that's almost unheard of here. So
I know. I was like, listen, all the feels. You're talking to a room full of performers.
I know,
right? Yeah.
And we get, and I think that's the other thing that we also understand is that, Austin also has to think about the business side of performing arts, and, saturation maybe isn't always the right answer, but thinking about how do theater companies sustain? How do they diversify their income opportunities? How do they think about cultivating what will help the economy grow? And you just talked about that. And I think you have to balance. And, and again, Lara, you're just like the best example of this, which is like I've got to think about the business stuff. I got to think about the art.
And think about the people.
And I got to think about the people, and if we're not thinking about all of those things, then we're in this cycle of doing the same thing the same way over and over again and hoping that maybe at some point somebody will pay people more, but we can't do that until we start creating a sustainable business, right?
If you go in and you elevate the way you're working, you say, here, this is the bar now. And we don't go below it. And that is a way I do feel, then the next time someone who's worked with us and goes to another company and says, well, that was the bar.
And
that's kind of what I need. And not that we are always ideal or always, but that's the goal, right?
100%.
That's the goal. And I saw it with equity in this town. Actors Equity Association is the stage actors union. And it didn't exist before my dad came to town and started an equity theater. And there were some contracts here and there, but it really pushed that into any sort of existence. And it's not huge. Texas is a right-to-work state, so it's never going to be a huge union stronghold. But I've been an equity member since 1999. I have a pension. My health insurance and my families are currently covered by equity. It is not nothing to have a union presence in town and to say.
But I also think it's nice because there are so many people that are faced with, if they want to stay at Austin and they want to be equity, like I know that I gave up my card because I was like, it's harder to work with it because there's just not enough
Absolutely.
places.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like there should be, but if there were 3 or 4 or 5,
That would be a very different city
100%.
for us.
and not just doing one show a year, but doing,
right. Not
seasons.
saving it for like, okay, I'm going to have one show this
Right.
season. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's so if you have multiple theaters doing full seasons, and as I said, Texas is a right to work state. You will always have that choice. But I think there should be a choice there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the folks who do want to say, I'm committed to this and, are able to get hired, there should have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So
Love it. Well, Lara, this was great.
thanks for having me,
Love
y'all.
what you're doing. I mean, I think we're all obviously all of us are very passionate about, what happens with this community, and your leadership is really helping this baby grow.
Yes. Grow, baby, grow.
Nurturing
I
it.
know.
I don't know. More
Yeah.
women leaders like Lara would be
Oh,
great.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think that's, we were just talking about that, but that
Lady leaders.
yeah, lady
Mhm.
leaders, right? Making shit happen.
They do.
They do.
They do.
They sure
really
do.
do.
happen,
They
and like a sweeping statement here, just being able to juggle all the things too,
Mhm.
and having
100%.
all those perspectives in place.
So many things dropped on the floor.
Well,
That's right.
But
That's
you're
right.
still picking them up, and it is
Yeah.
still
Dusting
like
them off.
Just
Just
scoot
scoot
your
'em up.
second rule for
Yeah,
glue it. Yeah,
absolutely.
glue it together if necessary.
Yeah, it's all
Whatever,
good.
we good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
we really
you.
appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Thank you all.
And if people want to donate to this
Yes.
amazing capital
Oh, yeah.
campaign, how do they engage with you guys?
So, starting on our website, austinplayhouse.com is a great way to get information on everything we're doing, from the capital campaign to productions to classes to all the things.
Love it. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe to the As You Are podcast on all channels. And we will see you again next time.
Bye.
Bye.